Yeah, I'm trying to share my screen. Is my screen visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So now, so today is the task. I'm going to give some of more questions for the revision, but today is the time what I have allocated so that before the overall viva, we will get to know exactly where are we and how exactly the things can be done. Fine. So initially, let me open that particular screen again. We have started with the confidentiality, availability, and the integrity. The objective of this particular syllabus, we have actually taken care about that. How exactly, what exactly the syllabus is all about the vulnerability as well as the penetration testing. But you must be aware of that how exactly the vulnerability is going to be initiated or can kind of introduced, and how exactly the task can be done with respect to the penetration testing as well. Now, the one thing is remaining right now into this particular syllabus, you can say is you can talk about this is a report writing is remaining. Yeah. So that will take care in the next session, whenever the next session is. Now, when you take care about the confidentiality, availability, and the integrity, and ask me any question if you do have, I'm just revising whatever we have discussed. So, every time, try to understand the data is an asset. So, the data, when you say the data is an asset, so anything, the security and the privacy, both of the things are going to move around the data. So when you say the confidentiality, availability, or integrity, or you can say the integrity, availability, or the confidentiality, or you can say the availability, integrity, and the confidentiality, these three are the pillars for any of the organization to take care about the data. Now, as we have discussed earlier as well, that there are going to be the three states of data. The data is in transit, the data is in use, and the data at rest. Whenever you put the data into the storage device or onto the USB device, that time the data is going to be at rest. So there are the different kind of protection mechanism when you say the data is going to be at rest. But when you say the data is in use, that means right now we are using the team. So that time there are the different kind of protection mechanism when the data is in use, or data in the transit when the data is. So right now whatever I am delivering, you are able to listen. So whatever the data in transit is going on, it is going to look at. Think about the scenario that you are using one particular platform which are just translating whatever you are saying, but that translation go in a very different manner. So sometimes the semantics of that particular verbatim, you can say, is not at all clear, or it is wrongly, you can say, presented. This is again a one way. When you say the data in transit, how it is going to be presented to the next person, it is really, really important. Whether I'm using the Teams onto the Microsoft Windows, or whether I'm using the Teams onto the Linux platform, or whether I'm using the Teams onto the Windows, the way the data is going to be presented should be same. There shouldn't be any kind of problem. So if you are listening to me on your phone and I'm presenting myself from the Windows platform, so there shouldn't be any kind of compatibility problem when the data is getting presented. So this is the thing when you need to take. So there are three states of data: data at rest, data in transit, and data in use. Now coming back to again the confidentiality and the availability and the integrity. So confidentiality means anyone who is not supposed to know the information is aware of what the information is. The integrity means you are trying to change, or you are unauthorizedly you are modifying the data which you are not supposed to. This is what you can say the integrity. And then the availability. So anywhere you can say it is actually resulting into the denial of service attack. That means the availability is going to be hampered. So for some of the application, if any of the application comes to you, for example, if the financial domain comes to you, so as we have discussed earlier as well, there where the confidentiality and integrity is important. Availability may not be important that much. But if you are talking about the, Flipkart, talking about the Amazon, talking about the railway reservation, you can say, or any other booking, there the availability is important. Why? Because I'm losing the transactions from my availability in the bank. If I lose or in the financial domain, if I lose the confidentiality, there is going to be a problem. So if even if anyone asks you, okay, for this particular case study, how exactly the confidentiality, integrity, or availability is going to work? So your perception should be that how that case study domain is going to be impacted, how that particular case study domain is going to take care about the implementation of the CIA pillar, you can say. And based on that particular thing, you can say attacks the bank or the financial domain can take care about the attacks on availability, can go sometime if the bank site is not at all available. But if there is an attack on the confidentiality or the integrity, there is going to be the problem for their own business that they cannot afford. So where to have and what to consider, it is really depending on your domain knowledge and the way you are going to implement that particular case study. Are you getting all the participants? Hello.
Yes,
Are
ma'am.
you with me, all the participants? Dear students?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. Now, to take care about, so there is always a difference between the security and the privacy. Security is the overall structure of the system, whereas the privacy deals with the personal information, or PII, you can say. So the two models which we have already discussed with is, one is the Bella Padula model and one is the BIBA model. Bella Padula model is going to take care about the confidentiality more. What I am going to say, when you can say the Bella Padula model, so that means confidentiality, what we have discussed, no one should be able to access the data which is confidential to anyone. You are trying to control the access. Okay, so if you see the read write permissions or read permissions into the Linux operating system, again it is a type of the confidentiality information. Viva model, which is going to go with respect to the integrity models, which actually focuses on how the data should, or how the other user should not be able to modify the data if it is not authenticated. So this particular BIBA model as well as the Bella Padula, what we have discussed. This particular model which you say is defines there, because there are the different access control as we have discussed, is the discretionary access control as well as the mandatory access control. This model really works with the the, what you can say, the mandatory access control. Now, when you talk about the Bella Padula model, so as we have already discussed this particular thing, that it focuses on the what you can say is confidentiality. Fine. So there are the subjects as well as there are the objects. Now, object means what? The files, the directories, and the subject means what? You are a subject. Why? Because you are able to you are going to access that particular object. Okay. Now, can anyone tell me what we have discussed with the Bella Padula model? I can do the writing up. If you do remember, we have discussed a subject can write to the objects which are at the topmost layer. Suppose administrator, worker, as well as, or you can say the administrator, project manager, and the developer, if you are saying. So developer, so writing up, that means a subject. If I am a developer, so, or if I am a manager, I can write on to the administrator. So this is means what? A subject has an access a write access to an object whose security level is higher. But as a program manager, I cannot write onto the system or which is onto the lower security level. So I cannot write onto the developers. No write down. Now, if you say write up is possible, but no write down is always also there. So when you say writing up, that means you are changing the information. Now, when you are changing the information, that means you are changing the integrity. You are modifying the integrity at the upper level, which is not at all possible. So for that particular thing, the BIVA model came into the picture, and that's what the Bella Padula and the BIVA model, they works in the opposite direction. One works with the confidentiality, one works with the integrity. Then, so this is the first unit what we have discussed basically to take care about the confidentiality, availability as well as the integrity. The next thing what we have discussed about the secure programming practices. I have shared the different kind of links of the OWASP as well as the Red Hat documents as well to take care about what should be the security architecture. So if you go right now with the waterfall model, if you go right now with the the SD, you must have learned the various models with the SDLC, VNV model also you have learned. The agile model also you have learned. So many these kind of models are not actually imparting the security by default. So if these kind of models are not at all imparting the security, so how to take care about those security? There is a challenge because many systems are implemented and they are using for a decade of 2 decades or 3 decades. I cannot retire those systems. Why? Because they are still getting used. But how to take care about the security? There is a challenge for injecting the security into these many models which are being implemented already. But if I go right now to take care about that, what should be the policy, organization policy? What data should be visible? What data should not be visible? So always, as we have discussed already, every system is going to be in the default deny state. Whenever you say the default deny state, what does that mean? Whatever the request, whatever the user data you are going to put in, it is always the permissions are always going to be denied. Now, why anyone can ask you why it should not be all allowed? Why all?
What is that state called?
Yes,
What is that state called?
default deny.
Okay, what does it mean?
That's what we are discussing. So default deny means do not give the permission to anyone. Anyone.
So that, ma'am,
Yes,
that means the whole system will deny everything by default. That's the
by
default
default.
condition.
It has to. It has to. So
So,
that I'm aware of that, okay, the system is never going to accept the the unnecessarily different kind of request altogether.
so ma'am, if it is in default deny, it can't differentiate between any of the authentication or authorization of user. It
It
will deny
cannot do
everything.
because every request is going to be denied.
So
So
ma'am,
now,
how can
just hold on.
the
Tanmay,
system be
just hold on.
controlled and how will the
Tanmay,
admin control it?
Tanmay, just hold on. So now, as an administrator, it is my responsibility to enable one by one user as per the request. So I am aware of only those many users I have given the authentication. Rest others are into the default deny mode. And it is far better than when you say the default accept. Because everyone is going to do lots of things and it is very difficult to monitor them and very difficult to put them in the deny state because as a human nature, you may forget or you may forget to put them into the restrictive mode. So we always keep everything into the default deny. And this was not implemented into the earlier, the application deployment. Why? Because no one thought about or no one, gone through the different kind of policies for the security. Are you getting my point? Hello. Are you with me, all the participants?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Now have you understood what is a default deny? And the system has to be in the default deny state always. So that you as administrator are aware of that how many permissions you have enabled to make the application access.
Ma'am, I have one question.
Yes.
So the admin or the controller of the system,
Mhm.
uh, so that guy will like manually control every access.
Exactly. Initially, they have to do so because when the system is going to go into the production, you really do not know which kind of applications are going to it. So, based on the application requirement, you open up the gate so that those the permissions can be established.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Any other question? Shall we proceed ahead? So this is the thing, and then we have discussed the architecture of the security. What is the requirement of the sanitizing the data? Now, when you take care about the sanitizing the data as well, there is a need of the sanitizing the storage. Because whenever you take care about the sanitizing the storage, even if you purge or delete the data, please make sure about the data is not at all going to be deleted. So the best way is to delete the data is to destruct the media. But if you want to reuse that particular media, so in that particular case, you need to do the multi passes of that particular sanitization. So old data cannot be recovered. Please take a note onto this. And you can take this kind of example as a dumpster diving as well. The reason behind that is if you are actually discarding the media, anyone can see and can recover the data from that media. So before putting the media to the market, so just make sure you need to destruct it. And if not the destruction, you need to sanitize it and you need to use the multi-passes of the sanitization. There are the different kind of ways by which you can sanitize your media so that the data cannot be recovered. This is the thing what you need to. So sometimes you go with the magnetic force, sometimes you go with the purging, sometimes you go with the deletion. Deletion is the quite risky way. Sometimes you go with the formatting, sometimes you do with the multi-passes formatting. So there are the various ways by which you can purge or delete the contents from the media or the sanitize the media. Are you getting me? So just make sure about it. Data deletion or data purging is never going to delete any of the data from the system. Are you getting all the participants what we are discussing? Now, after that, we have discussed the defense in depth. Now, defense in depth means what? As we have discussed already this particular thing that I need to have the layers of the security. So even if the one particular layer is broken, I immediately as an administrator, I'm going to get the, the what you can say the permission, or I'm going to get the information about okay, this particular layer is being broken, and when this particular layer is being broken, so immediately I will get the information, so I can take care about the other layers as well. And if the systems are very much important or very much critical, you can say we always put it into the DMZ zone or demilitarized zone. What do you mean by that? You do not provide the internet access to those many of systems. Those systems are running onto the internal network. So if you go to the any of the internship or anything, so there for the security, so there always we use the term DMZ zone. What do you mean by DMZ zone? It's a demilitarized zone, which are not at all accessible from the outside world. Fine. So here we have discussed the network security. The antivirus software could be there, data integrity behavior. The next thing what we have discussed about the vulnerability. So for the vulnerability we have, I have shown you the CVE as well CVSS. What is the difference? Can you tell me between the CVE and CVSS? We have already discussed this. Okay, so Dell has asked me one particular question. Let me see. What is the difference between the delete and the formatting? Delete means, just make sure about Dell. Delete means you are not actually deleting the contents, but the contents are there, but you are actually deleting that particular pointer. Okay, from you can say so that the space can be reutilized by the new what you can say new inserted elements. Whereas when you take care about the formatting, formatting means you are reorganizing or reinitializing the index table of the entire storage. Are you getting there? But the data is still there. Data is not at all getting deleted with the delete or with the formatting. Only the access, it is not going to be accessed easily. There are the different kind of access mechanism with the data. Okay, Dale, I hope I answered your question.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you explain once that one? Can you just give the assignment like yesterday, right? Some Samba vulnerabilities.
Yeah, just hold on. We will come to that particular point. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shall we proceed ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Any question? Okay. Now, yeah. So if you do remember, yeah. So we were talking about the vulnerabilities. Yeah. So into that particular vulnerabilities, you need to see the first is the threat, second is the risk, and the third is the vulnerability. So what we have discussed, the risk equals to threat into vulnerabilities. Whether to have that particular, I need to have, okay, I am a vulnerability assessor. I'm called to take care about my system. I'm called to take care about my entire system to see that, okay, whether the is carrying any of the vulnerability or not. So I need to have that approval to enter into their system. If I do not have the written approval, so I'm working as a bad user. Please do take care about that. So I need to have the written permission before I can work as a vulnerability assessor, because I am changing into that particular their system. Now, some of the risk you can accept and some of the risk you cannot. So which risk can you accept? It is really depending on what is the loss I'm going to get after the vulnerability associated with this risk is being exploited. If there is a high number loss or a high monetary loss or high data loss, if I can say, which is going to create a different kind of asset problem, as well as your image is also going to be affected with that. So in that particular sense, that risk you cannot afford, and if you cannot afford that particular risk, you are trying to reduce it. As we have already discussed, and please make sure about, if anyone asks you that whether the risk can be mitigated, no, risk cannot be mitigated, but it is always going to it is always going to what you can say is change its look and feel, is always going to change its angle. For one particular exploitation, you can say the risk is being mitigated or risk is being reduced, but it opens up the another window where which the attacker can exploit. So that you need to address. You need to see if, okay, I'm trying to reduce this particular risk, but after 2 years What could be the flavor of this particular risk, what the attacker can exploit? That you need to understand. Okay, all the participants, are you there?
Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, what was the difference between CV and CVSS?
Yeah. So I was asking that particular question that we have already discussed with. Okay, CVE and CVSS. As the name says, one is going to display the vulnerability and one is going to take care about the scoring. Okay, so if you open the CVE, so CVE is nothing but the whatever the publicly listed vulnerabilities are there, it is going to put into the CVE database. Okay, whereas CVSS is responsible to take care about the overall score. What is the score which you have assigned to the database? Sorry, which you have assigned to that particular vulnerability. Now, that particular CVSS score is going to actually, because there are some metrics, as we have discussed already, that there are some metrics associated with CVSS against which the score is getting calculated, and against which, based on that particular score, I can say that this is the higher vulnerability or high priority vulnerability or low priority vulnerability, or I can accept the risk with this particular vulnerability. So there is a difference. The CVE is going to just publicly list whatever the vulnerability for a one particular product, but CVSS is important because it is going to calculate the score against the base metrics. Fine, Avi?
Yes.
Any question? So these are the things what we have discussed during the different kind of, we have seen the modal vulnerability. I have shown you the SSH vulnerability as well. I have shown you the NFS vulnerability as well. Fine. So any question? Let me take a pause for 2 to 3 minutes. Meanwhile, you can find out if you do have any question.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, for the security architecture, what are the models that come into that?
See, there is no specific security architecture, you can say, but you need to, if you go with the software development kind of thing, or if you go with the agile or DevOps kind of thing, then you need to see that where exactly you can impart the security policies. So basically, at the design step itself, when the software is getting designed as well as the architected, that time you need to take care about the security. Fine.
Okay, ma'am.
Because
Yes,
how
ma'am.
exactly the, because the when you say the security architecture, the perception is that how exactly the the system is going to be architected to protect the data, or you can say the assets of your system. Fine. So let me take a pause for 2 minutes. Actually, I think I need to have a water. I will just have it. Yeah. So let's move on. Yeah, there was any question, Avi? You were having some question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now the next thing what we have discussed is the access control, and here what you need to take care about the role-based access control as well as the mandatory access control as well as the discretionary access control. So make sure about it. So when you take the mandatory access control, which particular location a service or a object can access, which particular directories a service or object can access. When you say the discretionary access control, you are going to have the read write execute permission from the subject to an object. When you say the role based access control, you need to take care about which of the roles what you have assigned. So this is according to the jobs what you are trying to go. So for example, examiner is going to have the different roles, the instructors are always going to have the different roles, the director is always going to have the different roles. So everyone is going to have the different roles as well as the authentication and the authorization. So this is the thing what we have already discussed. Then we have taken care about the authentication as well as the session management, and where exactly how important the session management is. And we have discussed different kind of OWASP suggestion for the session management, how it is going to move on. Yeah, then we have discussed with the vertical as well as the horizontal access control, broken access control, vertical privilege escalation. We have discussed that if I'm a normal user, I'm escalating my permissions to the administrator, or if I'm user but I'm actually escalating my permission as a second user as well. So this is nothing but the access control vulnerabilities. So this is also we have discussed, and we have started the discussion of SAML, which are nothing but the authentication protocol, the SAML, OAuth, and OpenID. So the perception for this particular authentication protocol to see whenever you are going to deploy the application globally, how exactly the data is getting transmitted from one particular end to another end. So these protocols, the SAML, when you say the single sign on, who is working within the after the single sign on? When you say so, where we have discussed the multi-factor authentication as well. When you say the something you know, when you say the something you have, when you say the something you are, and when you say the somewhere you are. So these are the different kind of factors when you talk about the authentication and how exactly this authentication is going to work on. Then we have discussed about the architecture of each protocol and the vulnerabilities. We have gone through the buffer overflow and the boundary overflow vulnerabilities, along with the network configuration, how should be storage. Yeah. So one thing you need to take care about when you say the data is at rest. So data at rest is always getting encrypted through the AES kind of algorithm. Again, for the encryption, the customer has to pay because the performance is going to be really different. I have to work more computing is required, or more CPU cycles are required for the encryption. So that I need to take care about. So more price is involved, you can say. But if the data is really important, then I can afford to have the encryption. But if the customer is saying that do not encrypt it and still you are encrypting it, that means you are going wrong. So there are the written policies by which the customer will say whether this particular data is required or encryption or not. Now there could be the chances that okay, you have encrypted the data, so it is not at all visible to you as well, but you have not encrypted data. So someone from your end as well can see that particular data and can take the undue advantage of it. Why? Because the client hasn't forced it, so I haven't encrypted that data. It is as simple as that. This also you need to take care about. Then we have discussed the vulnerability assessment as well as the penetration testing we have discussed. And then vulnerability assessment means what? You are trying to it always goes into the horizontal, you can say the direction, you can say, or it always go horizontally to see the different kind of vulnerabilities. Always when you go with respect to the penetration testing goes into the deep to understand What could be the risk associated with this kind of vulnerabilities? Are you getting all, my dear students? Yeah? Hello? Are you all there?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine, so this is you need to understand, and slowly we have moved towards the we have gone through the different kind of tools. We have seen the incident response policy. I have shared with you the NIST document as well, and the roadmap as well we have discussed. We have discussed the penetration testing phases with respect to the network, with respect to the software. And then lastly, we have discussed about the NFS. Yeah, so Tanmay was asking the question that in the assignment I have given the Samba vulnerability. So Tanmay, can you please come back to your question? Am I audible to you, Tanmay? If you can come back to your question again.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, yes, actually, the eighth question, NFS and Samba vulnerabilities. I
Uh-huh.
wasn't able to find the Samba vulnerability.
Oh, okay. Are you able to go to the CVE, type on the Google Samba vulnerabilities? You are able to find it. CVE Samba. You just find type that much.
Okay, ma'am.
You will be able to find. Fine. Now, the rest of the lectures, what we are going to have. We are having the 7 lectures in hand, 7 to 8 lectures in hand. So we will just going to do the practice with the different kind of case studies, so that I can prepare you for the different kind of vivas, because I need to take the overall viva in the next week. Fine, all the participants. So try to be attentive, because in a day or every day, maybe in the today evening, because tomorrow we are not having the lecture. So maybe in the today evening, I am going to put some of the case study for you, going to go through the different kind of you can say the different kind of concepts with the VAPT, and then we can discuss this on Wednesday. Sorry, not Wednesday, Thursday. Fine, that's how
Ma'am,
we are going to move. Yeah, go ahead.
ma'am, can you explain a little about Samba?
Yeah, so Samba is what? Samba is nothing but the file sharing. So Samba and NFS, they really work hand in hand. They both are quite similar, not exactly the same. NFS are going to work with the what you can say with the Linux flavors, and the Samba is going to work from the Linux to any of the flavor. Could be the Windows, could be the Mac OS, could be any other thing. Fine. So the objective of the Samba and NFS to have the to create the shared location, and that particular
It's,
shared location
is
is
it
going.
only for file sharing?
Yeah, hello.
Yes, is Samba only for file sharing or anything
It's
else?
a file sharing.
Okay, okay,
Samba and NFS. It's a you are going to create a shared storage, and that particular shared storage you can access from anywhere. It is not like FTP. FTP you are going to transfer the file, but here you are going to share the storage. There is a difference.
okay. Like you mean to say you can see the whole hard drive or the whole like
Exactly,
all?
exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
okay. I thought like Samba was something similar to FTP, but now I
No,
don't
no,
know.
no.
I
FTP is
no.
only for file transfer, nothing more than that.
Okay, yeah. Understood. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So try to see on the Google. There must be some file. I have shared the. I think I have shared the GitHub location as well, where you can find the NFS configuration file, as well as the Samba configuration file. Try to see just search on the Google Samba configuration file and on the GitHub. So it is going to display the entire configuration file for you, and you will be able to see that there are the different directories, there are the different users who can access that particular shared location. Slash home directory is never going to be available for any of the user. Please make sure about this thing. We have discussed while discussing the anonymous user as well in the FTP. Yeah, Abhi, I hope I answered your question.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it is okay that if we go some more and more test case study and we'll discuss with that. So see here, I basically really do not want to, you to overly burden with the lots of different things. That's why I solve many of the things. I ask you to solve many of the things during the class time itself. Okay. So because since there are the different kind of activities you must be busy, so I do not want really my subject you are going to study at home. So please utilize the class time where you can focus more. You can have more things to discuss, and that is the major reason I ask you to do the assignments during the class time itself. Okay. So again on for Wednesday, I'm going to put some of the questions with respect to the case study for you, and that's how you are going to work on. Okay. So maybe Monday we'll start with the Viva. I will write a mail to you overall Viva for the subject, and Tuesday, sorry, today's Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday you are going to have the Viva, and on Thursday I need to discuss that where should be the progress ahead. Fine. So Thursday is going to be the last lecture, most probably the next Thursday, you can say. Okay, all the participants, any other question?
Ma'am,
Any other doubt during the practice questions?
ma'am, I have a question. It's not related to the assignment. It's more
Uh-huh.
related to descriptive exam we have for the
Okay.
external. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, ma'am, do we have to write CVs in that as well? Or can we just give a brief or demonstrate, like brief example,
You need
like how?
not to write the CVE number. Please make sure about. But
But like we can like give a brief explanation, right?
yeah, you
Like
can
we
give the brief explanation about the vulnerability what you are having, because there are 100 different kind of CVEs.
yeah
Fine. So you
yeah
cannot learn by heart all the CVEs.
yeah, that was the query. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Any other thing? Let me have the attendance now. Akash, please take care of your health. Ahmad, are you
Sure.
doing good? I believe Ahmad, you are doing good.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good to know. PRN 8,
Present, ma'am.
9,
Present, ma'am.
15, 18, 19,
Present, ma'am. 19.
20,
Present, ma'am.
24, yeah,
Present, ma'am.
24,
Present, ma'am.
29,
Yes, ma'am. 29 present.
Ma'am,
36,
20%.
yeah,
2020. 0.
yeah, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40,
40 present.
44, 47, 51, 53, 57, 61, 64, 72,
Present, ma'am.
73,
Present, ma'am.
74, 80,
80 present, ma'am.
84, 86,
Yes, ma'am. 86.
87,
Present, ma'am.
89,
Present, ma'am.
93,
Present, ma'am.
96, 103,
Present, ma'am.
104,
Yes, ma'am.
107.
Present. Yes.
So all the best, dear participants. Stay healthy and stay safe. Stop the recording now.